Hello, Tar Heel Nation. Welcome back to another episode of UNC Hoops Talk podcast. I am Dan DeWitt, the host. Thank you guys for jumping in. Or if anybody does jump in and listen, who knows? Maybe everybody has given up on our Tar Heels for this season. But yeah, we're going to get back to it, back into the podcast. Yeah, I don't know. We can go wherever you guys want tonight. For those listening later, always encourage you to go to YouTube and subscribe, hit the little notification bell so you can join us live here. That's kind of where we're going to take this tonight is wherever you guys want to go. So we got the Nintendo nerd in here already saying I'm here already. Dan, hello. What is up? Um, and yeah, we'll go over if you want. We can talk about the FSU game. We can talk about the Duke game if we want to. We can talk about the ACC tournament coming up. We'll obviously hit uh, what the Tar Heels need to do if they want any chance of the NCAA tournament. We can talk about that if anybody wants to. We can jump way ahead into off-season stuff because that's about what it looks like we need to do. So we'll kind of follow your guys' lead here, but just kind of to introduce the show, I guess, get us back or catch us up, maybe is a better way to go. 300 is here as well, crying emojis. Since the last podcast, let's see, we podcasted after the Virginia game, right? So we beat Florida State, went down there. Wasn't pretty, wasn't spectacular, but hit 14 threes, which obviously helps. We got some guys some other playing time. I'm just going back to the box score. Dontrez 10 minutes, Seth 9 minutes. Beat him 77-66. I guess we could have talked about this one a little bit more if it was relevant, but since we followed that up with the Duke game, it just doesn't seem as relevant anymore. And Duke is freshly in our minds. Again, kind of going back to it, I guess it's a little skewed now that I think about it. I was going to say, hey, we played 12 guys in the first half. I think we only played 6 in the second half. I saw something like that. Only made one sub, probably Puff Johnson. But even the 12 in the first half is a little skewed because Justin McCoy and Jackson Watkins started as seniors for senior night. And so that skews a little bit. So I guess we played, pretty much 10 guys. Although even that is skewed because Jalen Washington was in for 1 minute. So that Tremble was in for 1 minute. Tyler Nickel 4, DeMarco Dunn 5. Dontrez got 70, had that nice block. Unfortunately, that's about all he added. But Puff Johnson gave some good minutes. Then, of course, it looks skewed because Caleb and RJ's points and minutes and all that comes off the bench as well. But um, didn't shoot the ball well again. 5 for 23 from 3. Uh, we were, even field goals, we were 35% in the first half, 27% in this. That's field goals overall. Threes, we were at 22% and 21% for the game, first half and second half. So, um, we played tough. We were there. We came back and got the lead in the second half, and then just like the first game, the last like 4 minutes, I think I heard 4.5 minutes of this one, we just didn't score. Like not like we only scored a little bit. Like no, we didn't score. And to finish you think about that. It's what a quarter of the half, so an eighth of the game you just don't score, and then the first part of the game too was really slow starting and scoring wise. I don't know if it was quite the first 4 minutes without score, but it was really slow to start the game off as well. So then you're thinking about pretty much a quarter of the game, just there was like no scoring from us. You're not going to be able to overcome that. And especially, again, a tight game. We got the lead. I think it was up to 4, maybe our largest lead in the second half. And then we just don't score the last 4 minutes of the game. Like, you're not going to win any game like that. Just nothing. So that's the Duke game. I guess I can give out a score if we want. Is 62-57. Duke wins it again. Sweeps us in Hubert's second year, John Shire's first year, all that kind of stuff. And it was crazy. We had Derek Lively in some major foul trouble. He only played 17 minutes overall. He still had 3 blocks. He was effective for what he does while he was in there. But like we had a long stretch without him, and we just could not take advantage of it. for whatever reason. And so we are now the 7 seed in the ACC tournament. Uh, Duke jumps up to the double bye, so they won't play till Thursday. We play on Wednesday. And even though Hubert Davis will not admit it in the post game press conference, we have to win the ACC tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. I know there's people out there that have said if we make it to the championship, we get it. And again, we can kind of go through this as we talk about it tonight. But Wednesday we'll play the winner of Boston College and Louisville. So if we win that game, win you whatever you want to say, when we win that game, it's not going to help us really at all. Besides that, we advance. As far as an at-large bid, it helps us not at all. Then we'll beat Virginia if we do that, which would probably then catapult them below. I guess. All right. So again, last podcast, if you were here, we know that we are not net experts. Someone, if they're listening, is a net expert. I believe how it would work is our win at home against Virginia. They would drop far enough in the net to where that one would not be a quad one win. But since we're beating them on a neutral win or a neutral court here, I guess they wouldn't drop far enough. That maybe this game in the ACC tournament would still be a quad one win. So we'd still be stuck at one quad one win over the same team, over Virginia. Then say we beat Virginia, we got to play Clemson, NC State, maybe Virginia Tech, something like that. And so, I mean, Clemson is, I don't think, in the tournament, even though the number 3 seed in the ACC tournament. I think all the brackets have them out. Their metrics are not good enough. NC State is a tournament team, so I guess we'd want to play NC State. Um, I don't know if that would be quad one on a neutral court, possibly. So then we'd have 2 quad one wins. And then the championship, obviously, we could play Miami, Duke, Pitt, whoever kind of comes out of that. And again, we'd probably want it to be Duke, Miami, because they're going to be higher up and it's going to be a better win for us. But obviously, we win that, we're in. I don't know how that even works again for the net. If we lose to Miami or lose to Duke in the championship, how that would really help on our at large bids. So there's people saying if we get to the championship, we could be in. I just don't see that. I think we have to win it. And who knows what Hubert Davis is thinking because he's not buying into we have to win the ACC tournament. So I don't know how he thinks we're getting in, but he's still got confidence. So let's go back here and kind of see what you guys want to talk about tonight. So the Nintendo nerd, we're about to be the first preseason number 1 not to make the tournament. Wrong record to set. Yeah, we've heard that one too much. We're not gonna. Let's get away from that Nintendo nerd. Positive vibes, right? 300 says Hubert's got to go. He's running our starters in the ground. We're not winning anyway. Play other people. So yeah, we can. I guess we can go there. It's not positive vibes, but 300 says Hubert Davis has got to go. I guess I'll reiterate what I said last podcast. I'm not a Hubert Davis has got to go person. Um, I think we kind of give him one more year. And again, I guess it maybe for me anyway, it depends who comes back. Because if we get, again, Caleb can come back, RJ can come back, Baycott can come back. We'd lose Nance and Leaky. But again, if Puff and Dontrez, we have kind of the same guys, especially those main guys of Caleb Love, RJ Davis, and Armando Baycott. They come back, and we do the same thing where he kind of fills in those 2 holes, either with transfers or even putting in Puff or Dontrez. It's been like 2 years now. We've said okay, we got all this depth sitting on the bench. Then if we just fill those holes and then we still, like you said, play 5, 6, even 7 guys, same kind of outcome stuff. I don't know. I don't even know what to think then. But if those guys kind of move on, which I kind of think they will, RJ maybe will stay. I don't know. Well, again, I don't know. I don't even know how to read this locker room right now. But if Caleb moves on and Armando moves on, and let's say RJ moves on too, kind of everybody moves on, then we fill in with what you would say are Hubert Davis's guys. Um, the recruits coming in. I don't know. I don't know how you consider what you consider Dontrez and DeMarco Dunn, if they're really Hubert's guys or not, or whatever. But if he gets a new slate, and I'm not even saying he's to go to the Final Four or anything, but we got to see something different in that year. Otherwise, I'm going to be a lot closer to where you guys are right now, or at least where 300 is right now. I won't lump all of you guys in, but Nintendo nerd, I'm not convinced that Hubert needs to go, but he needs to change some of his ways for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think rotations. I don't think you can just say, "Hey guys, you're going to get an opportunity at some point. Be ready when it comes." I don't know when it is or how long it's going to be for or whatever. Just be ready, and then like you give Styles a minute this game, and then 3 minutes later you give him, or 3 games later you give him like 5 minutes, and then four more games later you give him 5 minutes, and like that's not giving him an opportunity. I'm not gonna buy that. So I agree. That's gotta definitely change. Um, you gotta give, like, have some stability, have some kind of structure to your subbing. I don't care if it's the NBA way or whatever, but there's got to be some change there. So Christian, at least I hope I'm saying your name right all the time, says I may be delusional, but these are my takes. UNC is guaranteed out of the tournament if they lose Wednesday. Oh yeah, they lose Wednesday, they're definitely out. Again, the only I see people saying if they make it to the ACC tournament or championship, then they can get an at-large bid. I don't really buy that. Oh, I guess Christian continues here. Sorry. If they get to Thursday, I think it's possible as long as not too many bids get stolen. If we win Thursday, I think we're in for sure. So Christian thinks if we beat Virginia Thursday, that we're in. I mean, again, I'm long ways from a bracketologist. But again, I think that would knock the quad one when we have now down to a quad two, and then the beating Virginia on a neutral would be a quad one. So you're saying we're getting in as, you know, I guess again it's 1-8 or 1-9 record in the quad one games that we've played this year. I don't think we do. Again, from what I've seen, we've dropped from the first four out to the next four out in Lenardi's bracketology. Yeah, I mean, again, of course, it depends what other teams do. But again, Auburn had a big win. They were kind of the bubble. I think people have said that kind of seals them in. All those things kind of take away, and obviously, what happens in conference week matters as well. If the one seeds or people that already had automatic bids are winning that, yes, that helps us quite a bit. But I just think there's too many teams in front of us to leapfrog with one win over Virginia on a neutral floor. But we'll see. Obviously, Christian's entitled to his opinion as well. Nintendo Nerd says this is the year we're supposed to dominate Duke, and we got season swept by them. I don't know how to say anymore. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say either. And plus, I guess to say more is John Shire just seemed to have his pulse. I think somebody tweeted like it just seemed like he had a pulse on what substitutions to make, what adjustments to make, um, and did that. Again to play with Lively for a while, and it didn't seem to hurt them. They maintained, and when he came back, then not that they killed us or anything like that, but they got it done again in both games. The last 4 minutes of the game, they got it done. We didn't. We were the veteran team. They were playing a bunch of freshmen, or at least some freshmen. 300 says if we make it to the final game, starters will be burnt out anyway. People wonder why we always fall apart at the end. They're tired. Um, 300 says I know what to say. We need a coach. I think we know where 300 stands on this. Team has too much talent to be this bad, and yeah, I know somebody asked Hubert kind of about like, hey, you have to win all 4 games. Like, does that affect how you play the bench and that stuff? And he's like, I don't adapt. I don't know how he said. I'm not gonna get it right, but pretty much, I don't agree that we have to win all 4 games. We're going in with that we have to win Wednesday. And if that's the way you play it, obviously you're not going to have much subs, and so you're going to play the people you've been playing Wednesday, and then you're going to say the same thing Thursday, like we got to win today. So then you're going to play all those guys, and like I think it was 300 there said by the championship, those guys are going to be dog tired. You remember last year we won against Syracuse, and then we lost against Virginia Tech, and we still were kind of wondering like we think we're in, but whatever. And yeah, we didn't know everything was going to happen yet when we lost to Virginia Tech in the ACC tournament. So to go 4 straight days again, unless we actually do play more guys, but like I said, we played what I if we discount those seniors, we played 10 guys in the first half. You look at our starters' minutes. Armando had 31, but he had some foul trouble. Leaky, 40 minutes. Pete Nance only 24. He kind of split with Puff Johnson, had 12. And Donchester Styles had 7 of those. So you count those up, that's what, 19 to 24 between Pete and those guys at the 4. And then you go RJ 38, Caleb 34, DeMarco 5, Tyler Nickel got 4. And again, those guys aren't making a case of like, hey, Tyler Nichols got to be playing because he's just knocking down shots when he's out there. But again, the inconsistency of when he's going out there, he probably doesn't even know where he's supposed to take shots from. What shots is he okay to take without getting yanked? Is he okay to shoot this, or does he need to pass it inside to Baycott every single time? Um, and then, yeah, you don't get much from him. We're not seeing much from him. But again, I think that's all about the consistency of it. So the Nintendo nerd says, to be fair, this group of guys minus Pete was bad under Roy Williams as well. Not saying coaching isn't an issue, but all I'm saying is that there's a common factor, and it isn't the coach. And yeah, obviously they figured it out last year. There's been a lot of rumors and hearsay and whatever about the chemistry this year. Maybe the expectations. They asked Armando about a hangover from last year, or like from the expectations and all that, and he kind of agreed that at the beginning of the year, the expectations got the best of them, and they just really haven't been able to figure it out. And maybe there is, I think there's got to be, as much as we've heard about it, some kind of truth of stuff happening between people, and whether they feel like it's behind them, and maybe it's not. The trust isn't completely there, and who knows. Um, but yeah, it's definitely not figured out. And again, these are veteran guys that aren't figuring it out. Nintendo says, I think we have to win the whole thing. We can win the NIT maybe, says 300. Um, I don't think we can win the whole thing, but we kind of have to at this point. So yeah, and I kind of agree. I don't see this team putting 4 games together. Even right here, we said after, who did we lose one to? Let me go back to the schedule. We lost, and we're kind of like, okay, we have to win out or we're done. Oh, NC State, yeah, we have to beat Notre Dame, Virginia, Florida State, and Duke, to stay alive. And we're on a 3-game winning streak, and they just couldn't do it to 4. Um, and obviously, the type of team you're playing with affects that, but that's what you're going to get in the ACC tournament too, unless Syracuse, or who else is on the top of that bracket? Syracuse, Wake Forest. I mean, Pitt, we got swept by, so how can you say that? But unless those guys are coming and blowing up, Florida State from Tuesday, make some kind of crazy run, um, and knocks out those big guys. That's the type of competition we're going to see in the ACC tournament. So Nintendo says, I'll forever love Caleb for his Final Four dagger against Duke, but I just want him to transfer or go to the G League at this point. 3 years and not improving at all. And yeah, it's maybe shooting, if shooting was getting better, but it's like decision making's not getting better, and that stuff you'd think would be almost easier. Shooting can take a lot of work, but um, you know, yeah, I I agree with that. I think it is just time after this year that, for sure, Caleb. Again, I think I would take Baycott back, and part of that is because we don't even know what kind of big guys we got coming in next year. Obviously, we got Will Shaver on the bench, hurt pretty much all this year, didn't play when he wasn't. Jalen Washington still coming back. We haven't seen completely. He's got to get a lot stronger. Um, so yeah. So Wing Chu Meditation says no more BS talk is cheap. Caroline better win the tournament. Period. And then he also says, why do fans for Hubert to be fired? Why do fans call for Hubert to be fired? Are you people that stupid? He leads us to the national championship, and you're trying to stab him in the back. You sound stupid. I mean, all right. And again, I think we've given him a pass, but outside of pretty much March last year, like, how have we looked? That's the problem. And then again, like, I go back to what adjustments and substitutions and even beyond that. Obviously, recruiting, he's nailing it out of the park. You can probably give him an A plus for that. But for like adjustments, for rotations, and developing guys, like, I mean, okay, now Dontrez has been in your system 2 years. Why isn't he a shooter? DeMarco Dunn was getting minutes. Like, why did it stop? Like, I don't know. I, I yeah, I don't know. We'll get into that more, I'm sure, as we get to the off season, though, too. But obviously, Wing Chun meditation on the other side of that, very adamant, sticking up for Hubert there. So, if we really want UNC to make it without the ACC tournament win, we need to root for Michigan to move up to 50 in the net, and that would move to a quad one win for us. So that I mean that definitely would help, but I also don't think I don't think Michigan's getting a. And again, I don't know what it would take for them to move up to 50 in the net. I don't know where they're at now, but if that takes them winning the Big Ten championship, I think that takes. I don't think they're in that large bid right now or a large team. So then that kind of steals a bid. So even though it gives us a quad one, does it steal what the bid what we'd have? I don't know. Again, not far enough on that. So JB2 says Hewitt failed to hold players accountable. The first half of last night's game was far too late to put Caleb on the bench for jacking up dumb shots. Should have happened. I mean, do we even know that's why? I did notice, like, hey, Caleb's been out for a while, but I don't know that we have confirmation of that's why he did it or, whatever. I don't know. I mean, that would be interesting though if that was the case for sure. Christian says I'm out on Lenardi's bracket. The Big Ten teams he has in the tournament are legit no better than UNC. He has bum Wisconsin in the tournament. Yeah, I mean, at least that's getting a lot more talk this year. It seems like between them and then some of the Big 12 teams too that are um, way below 500 in league play even. Seem like in his bracket they're in and a lot of people's brackets in, but there's people talking about like why is this team with such a terrible team record still getting in, even though even if they are, and I don't think anybody's arguing that they're the best conference, but with such a bad conference record, why are they still getting in? So I like that it's getting more talk that way, and again, like Wisconsin too, and you know, yeah, I think that's going to come to play. But the ACC is just so bad, and again, I think it is. I think it is bad. We still have some good teams. I think Duke is a good team. I think Miami is a good team. Pitt is some kind of on the verge of even Virginia. I'm not totally bought into Virginia being a really good team, especially the way they're playing lately. Um, but we have decent teams at the top. It's just our bottom is dragging us so down. Louisville is so bad. Even Notre Dame is just really bad. Who else is down there? I mean, Boston College isn't horrible. Who else is way down there? Georgia Tech is pretty darn bad. Florida State, I mean, they got talent, but just not a good team. Boston College is duh. Wake Forest had its moments this year. As again, that bottom is just dragging us down. So, Wing Chun Meditation says we were beating Duke when Baycott is on the bench. We played better, spread the floor. We scored 7 points in a row. Baycott hurts us. They're just gonna double him. I get what you're saying. There was another game too where was that the Notre Dame game maybe where he kept Baycott out a little bit longer because we were playing well. We definitely played different. I think it is we just don't have very minutes without Baycott, and so people don't even really know how to play us without Baycott, and so it looks good now. I think if we played that enough, it would it would show. I mean, we don't get any. There's nobody in there for offensive rebounds. I can remember somebody took an outside shot when Baycott was out and we had nobody like inside the 3-point line. All five guys outside the 3-point line. No chance of an offensive rebound. I don't know that you can say Baycott is hurting us. He's pretty much a first or second team All American, first team All ACC. Um, I don't know that we can say he hurts us. Could we play stretches maybe without him for sure? But I think we've kind of done that as well. But I think down the stretch, as much as you need rebounding, I don't think you can just take out North Carolina's leading rebounder and double man. JB2 says Wisconsin has great wins. We don't. The Nintendo nerd says Big 10 and Big 12 bias is blatant. I'm not going to act like UNC is any good right now. And that's the problem. We just can't back it up. There's nothing that we can kind of say of like who we beat and whatever. So Wing Chu says it's not the coach. You're a fool if you believe that. You know nothing about ball. All right. I don't know when we get to name calling and all that stuff, but these guys are too young to be tired. I don't want to hear that. Duke won the championship in 2010 with 6 players. They won the AC or the NCAA tournament. That's a lot different because you play 2 games in a weekend, not back-to-back days, and then you get, like, the rest of the week off and to prepare. I don't think you can compare when again, and you could say they didn't beat the best teams either. I mean, they beat what, Butler in the championship. I don't remember who they played in the Final Four game, but it's different playing the NCAA tournament with lower. And I think there's more timeouts too because of the money that the NCAA makes off of all the TV stuff. There's more timeouts and TV timeouts and stuff like that in the NCAA tournament as there is like the ACC tournament or just a regular one. And but for us to go 4 days in a row playing 6 guys compared to 6 games over 3 weeks is a little bit different. I don't think you can compare that. But I mean, I Hubert even said last year in the championship, like we got tired at the end of the Kansas, like second half of the Kansas game, and obviously there was injuries to Baycott as well. We saw Puff Johnson throw up because he was tired. Like they can get tired at that age. Getting that physical and I mean our guys aren't used to running up and down like the Roy Williams team, so I think teams could tire them out that way too. So I don't think you can say these guys can't get tired. I mean that's part of the reason you could say we did as well in the NCAA tournament as compared to the ACC tournament. ACC tournament, we played back to back, lost the second one. And AC or NCAA tournament, you get a day in between games, and you only play 2 on it on like a weekend. You play Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday, and then you have off until the next Thursday or Friday. So that's not comparable in my book, but believe what you want, I guess. Do you think NIL is a factor? Minus Leaky and sometimes Armando, no starter seems engaged anymore. I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to decide because I get that it's part of it, and some of these guys have probably a lot of deals that I have no idea about. You see a lot. I see a lot of, or at least I do anyway. I see a lot of Armando doing some of those. Obviously, the commercial that Leaky did, I've seen that. But I just don't see a ton that RJ and Caleb are, and they must be. But again, like that's and I hope anyway that it's so separated to where like they do an ad on Twitter and they get paid for it, or Instagram or whatever they get paid for. Like why that would take your focus off of like, hey, I want to win this basketball game. I don't know. And someone else has said too, like every other team is doing NIL as well. Why is it only hurting us this badly? Um, maybe some teams or programs have it figured out better than us. I don't know, but I just can't really blame it on NIL. If that's affecting it, then I think there's other things that would have affected our locker room if it wasn't NIL. I just can't blame that really. Wing Chu says the coach don't play 1 second. It's on the players, not Hubert. Hubert could hit threes when he shot them. Uh, you're right. I don't think anybody has said the coach plays or that Hubert could hit the threes. The problem is the coach has to put them in position to be successful, and the coach needs to know how to do that. I don't think anybody would argue if they took me, you, some Joe Schmo off the Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and put him with the coach. All of a sudden, it's going to change. But if you're saying the coach doesn't play, and that's your argument, then again, literally anybody could be the coach, and the results should be the same. I mean, the coaches have an effect on the game and how it goes and how guys develop. And again, that's what I was going at too, is if things don't change, next year or whatever, like why isn't Hubert developing guys and his staff? Why aren't guys getting better? Why can't we see DeMarco Dunn as a junior? Dontrez Styles, why can't he shoot yet as a if Hubert can hit those and Jeff Lebo can hit threes and whatever, why aren't they developing DeMarco Dunn to knock down consistently? Why aren't people coming in being more effective? Um, and I get there's more to it. Obviously, the player is involved in all that and stuff as well. But you can't just say the player or the coach doesn't play, and so he doesn't affect it. It's on the players. It's not all on the players. Otherwise, the coach wouldn't matter. We wouldn't pay him millions of dollars to coach. It does matter who the coach is. Wing Chu says Duke is awful. I mean, we just have them the game again. I mean, we just have them the game again. I don't know what you mean. I don't think Duke is awful. I think they're pretty good, and they're playing much better as well. Um, JB2 says he's not the man for this job. Again, I'm still out. Verdict's out on that one for me. How many ring do these fools on this board have? Zero. Correct. I mean, I don't think you need to get defensive. Hubert doesn't have any rings either. So again, I don't know where that argument's coming from. But Isaac Daniels says, "Do you think UNC doesn't make the NC tournament? They will actually play in the NIT." That's I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I think Hubert will. He'll say something positive about it and go at it. I think he will. Now, what the players look like, if people, I don't know, announce they're going to transfer before then because they don't want to, I don't know. It would be interesting to see how Caleb Love plays in the NIT, how motivated, even like Leaky, Pete, Baycott, RJ. When you've gone to the national championship for a lot of those guys, what does the NIT mean to them? Or like Pete, who came to North Carolina to kind of get to the NCAA tournament, which is kind of crazy because Northwestern's probably going to make it this year. North Carolina probably not, and now Pete, is kind of there. So, how motivated is he to really play in the NIT? That would be interesting. JB2 is responding to Wing Choo says squarely on Hubert to hold him accountable. Gave Caleb an endless leash, and it's the worst thing he could have done. Wing Choo says Hubert don't play a second; it's the players. We went through that one. JB2, he should put them on the bench early in the season. He failed. Period. Nintendo Nerd says Hubert Davis loves that Caleb can make a big time shot and shoot you to a win, but he's mostly been shooting us out of the games as well. Yeah, and I think kind of see that he's it looked like he ran something for Caleb at the end of the game to kind of get that shot. Although nobody seemed to look like they wanted to shoot it, um, but it kind of looked like he was expecting Caleb to shoot that, and yeah, he's not. I mean, obviously he can. We've seen it. He's not going to hit that every time just because it's end of the game or whatever. So Marshall Evans, haven't seen you in here before. Welcome to the podcast live on YouTube. Yes, does Caleb Love leave after the season? I think so. Now where he goes will be interesting, and obviously he could come back. If North Carolina boosters or whatever pay him the most money, obviously he could come back. But it will be interesting. I don't know. I kind of assume he'll go somewhere, but I have no inside information or anything like that. So 300 says Hubert should just stay recruiting. We need a coach. I think that would kind of affect that, but that would be interesting. So Wing Choo, I think they're talking about Michigan here. They lost to Indiana today in overtime, long way from the top 50. Yeah, I don't know what kind of possibility that is, but 300 responds to Marshall. I pray that he leaves, talking about Caleb. JB2 says Hubert continued to do the same thing, exact same thing, game after game, despite it not working, is all on him. Yeah, again, that's the adjustments and all that stuff we've talked about. Wing Choo says the ACC is the best conference. If we're so bad, why don't the Big 10 and Big 12 don't they come and play us? We did play the Big 10, and I think we did beat them. I don't think there's any, or to me, it's and again, it's matchup and all the crap. I don't think anybody really cares about the Big 10 ACC challenge, especially that it's done. But we are going to play. Are we playing the SEC now, or is it the Big 12? We got a new challenge with somebody, but um, I mean, they got no reason to come play us. But I don't think you can realistically say that the ACC is better than the Big 12. I don't know. Big 10, I haven't given enough thought to compared to us as far as where that one is. But yeah, ACC is not. Again, we got a few decent teams at the top, good teams if you want to say that. But our bottom drags us down big time. I don't think you can. I don't think you can really argue that. 300 says JB2. You see it. He can't coach. JB2 says same lineup, same offensive set, same results. Never adjusts. Nintendo Nerd says the committee just hates the ACC now, and it's blatant. Yeah, I mean, I think it's gotten out of control of the hate on the ACC. Big 12 and Big 10 are just as competitive as the ACC, and yet they get all the love. Again, I think Big 12 is better than us. Again, especially if you're looking at I think their top teams are better, but I also think just the whole thing together, they're better. But Wing Chu says Pitt is good. Virginia, Duke, Carolina, Wake Forest because is not that bad. OBC is not that bad. Pitt is. I mean, again, I don't know if it's good because they beat us, but I think they can be good. They could go on a little run. Virginia is. I mean, obviously up and down. They've been down here lately. I think Duke is good. I think Miami is good. Um, I know it'll be interesting. I've wanted to ask Brian Ives if you follow him on Twitter. Does a lot of stuff for ESPN, does a lot of stuff in stats, but is a North Carolina guy. I would be interested to see what the lowest seed the ACC, like the best team in the ACC's ever gotten. Usually we got ACC teams up there as the number one, or several of them for one seeds and stuff like that. If Miami wins the ACC tournament, what's the highest seed they get? Or even like a Duke, I would guess maybe like a 4 seed. And so like if the best ACC team is as low as a 4, like has that ever happened before? I would kind of think not. But you think of like Clemson as the number 3 seed in the ACC tournament right now, I think is outside looking in at the NCAA tournament, which is just crazy to have a conference record like that, but it doesn't. And again, some of that is the bias against ACC because it's not helping in the net enough and all that stuff. But and again, some of that is we did it to ourselves in the non-conference. Some of I don't agree with the net, but um, you have to kind of set it up in the non-conference of how good your program is. Agree or not, that's I guess how it goes. So Marshall Evans says, responding to 300, I wonder if the program would try to push or guide him out. I mean, it's killing the development of the younger guys. And yeah, we'll get into it kind of, I think, in the off season too. But like, who transfers out? Do all the commits actually come? Especially if he has another. It's not this class coming in next year that is kind of his good one. It's the next one. So if he has another year like this year, does that affect those 24 recruits? Because then our program could be really hurting if we can't get transfers to come in because of how it is, people are transferring out, and then our recruits don't start coming, then we're really going to be hurting, and we're going to be at a rebuild. So we don't want to get to that point. Christian says, I honestly think the AC is just underrated. We got some really bad teams, but I feel like it's a repeat of last year. Everyone wrote off the AC last year, and we had way more teams in the Sweet 16. I don't know if I see a repeat of that. I think somebody could make it, maybe even a couple teams. But yeah, last year it was ridiculous. But again, I don't think you can count us that because we just weren't good all year. Um, but yeah, we had what 3 Final 8 teams or Elite 8 teams, 2 Final 4 teams, obviously a team in the championship game. So I don't see a repeat of that, but I agree there's to a degree we are underrated because of just the narrative that people have out there. So Wing Chu said he is good, but everyone knows we're going to him. Stop him. You stop Carolina. Is that Baycott? I think he's probably responding to. Yeah, I mean, again, he's got to learn how to kick out of the double team, but also we need shooters. A lot of times we kick out and then we swing and it ends up in Leaky's hands, and they just don't guard Leaky. He's got to be able to shoot it, and yeah, that part of it. But if you can get somebody to double team somebody every time, that's an advantage to you. You just have to be able to use it, and we just can't with the non-shooters that we have out there. Even our shooters aren't making it. So 300 said if Baycott is hurting us, well, we're not going to get a name team. All right, 300. No, we're not going to do that comment there. Be nice, guys. JB2 says a brutal season from start to finish. Easily the most disappointing season of my lifetime. I think it's probably most disappointing because of the expectations we had, and maybe they were obviously overrated or, whatever. But yeah, I went through 8-20. That was brutal. We were losing to some bad teams in that year. But again, because of the expectations this year, definitely probably more disappointing than that one. Um, Christian says, I'm not disappointed in Pete Nance more. Oh, I am just disappointed. Sorry, read that wrong first. I'm just disappointed in Pete Nance more than anything. He's just not the guy to fill in after Manic. Don't understand why he's so stubborn to give him so many minutes. I mean, we've seen glimpses from him, though. Um, it's just got to be able to use him in the right way, and I don't know if the right way for him fits in with what we need for this team. So, and that's why again I think there's some of when Baycott's out, we've seen some flourishment because Pete can play a little bit more how Pete wants to play and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's a lot more into it, I think, than one player or one thing to kind of pinpoint. That's kind of the problem. If we were close and it's like, oh, we don't feel like we're getting over the edge, then maybe there's one thing that maybe affects that. We're a long ways out. Maybe not a long ways out, but you know, we're a long ways from being really good. And so I think that's more than just one thing that, hey, you change this and it changes everything. Isaac asks, what players do you see transferring? I see Tyler Nickel, Dontrez Style possibly transferring. Does Baycott come back for a fifth season? I kind of feel like Baycott doesn't. But again, it's like, where does he go? Does he transfer to a different school? That kind of hurts his UNC legacy. Can't really go pro. Like a lot of people said, it's probably taken um, a hit financially if you leave Carolina and go pro, which is crazy enough to say in these days. But yeah, I don't know where he goes, but I kind of feel like he's just maybe kind of done at Carolina. Um, I hope Tyler Nichols stays. I kind of like him. If I'm Dontrez Styles, I think I leave. I mean, you've been here 2 years, been healthy, and you've just been sitting on the bench besides spot minutes. So I don't know why he wouldn't go somewhere and try to play, unless Hubert says like, hey, you're going to be one of the six guys I play next year. I don't know. I don't know that he would give out that promise anyway, but I think I would. And even like Dunn, now he was playing early in the season. Now it's dropped off. Does he try to go like those guys are going to be juniors next year? So you know, it's tough. I don't know. Cameron Lofton says the money did not help. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it helps. I just don't know that you can completely. Again, like I said, I think there's lots of stuff goes into it. I don't think you can just blame NIL because of it. 300 says I like Nichols. He's going to go somewhere and be great. I hope he stays. I like him. Um, but yeah, we'll see. Nintendo says Pete was and always will be a five. Him playing the four has been a hindrance. I do agree with that to some degree. So hindrance to both his ability and the teams. I wish he would sub for Mondo and nothing more. I think he could play them together a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I think we've seen other stuffs as well. Um, Cameron Lofton says uh, Dunn isn't ACC caliber. I never think his shot is going to fall. I mean, do you? I don't want to. I don't want to go there. I don't want to get too mean. Um, I'm getting way behind on your comments as well, guys. So I'm going to try to catch up here a little bit. I hate to say it, but Duke isn't awful. I think they were, but they have improved. They're good, and I will say that's all the good I'll say about Duke. Um, yeah, I mean, I'll say it. Like I think they've gotten really good. I think they still have a lot of room to grow. Obviously, the season's coming to an end here. I hope, and I don't think they'll win the NCAA tournament or even the ACC tournament. But I do think they're good. Filipowski has come along. I mean, he's been good all year, but he's come along and lately he's kind of found his role, probably due to our first game with them. And um, yeah, I don't know. Um, Christian says the money didn't help. These dudes were getting paid before NIL. I think it's a lot more though now, just because they can. So Cameron says, "Newsflash: Hubert's here to stay. Mondo is coming back. RJ certainly. Caleb isn't first round. He likely returns as well. I mean, again, it's a possibility, but again, it's if that happens, then I don't know that kind of affects maybe how I view Hubert and uh, all that stuff. So I don't even know exactly how. So Marshall says, "Thanks for the welcome. What are your thoughts on the future of all the currently rostered players? Who do you expect to stay and leave?" I mean, I think some of it who leaves may affect who stays and vice versa and stuff. If RJ and Caleb and Armando all come back, I could see Dunn, I can see Styles, I could possibly see Puff leaving. I mean, he doesn't get consistent minutes. He's still stuff, you know, come and go. Then I could see possibly Nichols going. Um, I mean, Tremble's gotten some minutes, but does he go somewhere and try to get a starting role next year, as opposed to be behind RJ and Caleb again? Because again, that's not going to help his development if he's not getting those minutes. We've seen he can't shoot right now. He doesn't want to shoot from the outside, but if those guys keep getting those minutes, what's going to change next year for him? Jalen Washington, does he want to? I guess he could play alongside. Someone's got to play alongside Armando, and Leaky's gone, so maybe he kind of gets those minutes, so he'll stay. Um, but yeah, I think who stays kind of affects who leaves and all that stuff. So it's really hard to say. I mean, I can give you kind of my hot, but I have nothing to base it on. It just be kind of like some of what I hope to do and what hope happens, and some of kind of just what I reading body language and stuff like that. So Christian responds to Cameron, that's what college recruiting is. They paid these players under the table. But again, I don't think it's to the amount of what they are now. Nintendo says, I'm with you, Dan. I'm having Hubert one more or giving Hubert one more year. We hopefully has less returning starters to work with. That'll be the test to see how he changes, improves the lineups. And I think again, the expectations could have hurt Hubert in his coaching. You know, if we come back and we don't have those guys that we had for the run, it's kind of a clean start. We don't have obviously the number one ranking, let alone maybe even any top 25 ranking. The pressure's off people. Maybe Hubert coaches differently. Maybe obviously guys and hopefully Hubert learns from this. Hopefully he does, like you guys have said, and I've been with you as well, as holds people responsible, holds guys responsible for the shots they take or the decisions they make, and uses the bench and uses the depth that we've wanted and think we have and all that stuff. Maybe he becomes a better coach because of it. So yeah, I think we kind of I'd love to see him kind of with that clean slate and kind of see what happens and judge him from that as opposed to coaching Caleb and RJ and Armando and Leaky and stuff like that his entire tenure, and then we're like, well, we needed to make a decision here if this is the guy for the next 20 years, 40 years, whatever. So yeah, as I said, I could see Caleb Love going to Missouri. I think heard people kind of say that. Um, I don't think there's anything behind it besides obviously he's from there, but UNC fan says if Caleb Love leaves, I'm going to kill myself. Is that what it stands for? Sorry, I'm not up to all the lingo of what the kids abbreviates for, but um, is, UNC fan, like, he's gonna leave at some point, man. Don't kill yourself, man. Um, Cameron says, or responds to Christian, look, if you got nothing, stop tagging me, name him. All right, I don't know what that means, but JB2 says, I feel like we have a favorable spot in the ACC tournament. We've beaten the teams we are paired with, so let's see what happens. I mean, that's true. We've beaten State, we've beaten Virginia. Obviously BC and Louisville who come up, behind us. It'll just be again consecutive days. It's on a neutral. What, we beat State at home, we beat Virginia at home, so it's on neutral as opposed, which should be more of an advantage for us. Hopefully, we travel. We'll see how the fans kind of respond here to losing Duke and not having much hope. But this being our only hope, maybe everybody goes to Greensboro, cheers us on. It's like a home court advantage for the Tar Heels. So possibly. Um, JB2 says no chance that Caleb Love returns. Marshall says we have to remind ourselves that Hubert inherited this roster. He's envisioning a basketball philosophy that we need to get used to as UNC fans. Maybe with his guys, pro offense looks better. I heard somebody say that once to run a pro offense, you need some pros. So it's like, I mean, what pros do we have behind even these guys? I'm not saying these guys are pros. Um, it'll be interesting to see kind of what system or what it looks like playing for Hubert Davis. That again, that's why I'd love to see that clean slate. Without Caleb Love there, that's probably the big one. Um, just because of the kind of leash he's given, the shots he takes, decisions that he makes. Um, what what it looks like without him, but even without Baycott and without RJ and stuff, how does he coach without them? So I would like to see that. I think just to kind of evaluate him, maybe. Cameron says they all got NI deals. You're not worth another. All right, we're gonna get away from that. Christian says, imagine the migraine Roy would probably have right now if he were still coaching. Uh, yeah, he doesn't look too sad sitting over on the side. Besides when we're losing, maybe he looked like he's having a good time, not having to worry about transfers and NIL and all that stuff. So Cameron says, you all want to see it's funny, you all want to see these bench players that never contributed when they played. You want to see the starters to leave, but you say you want to win. What a joke. I mean, we're not really winning much right now. And again, I think it's just to see what they. I mean, we recruited them to North Carolina. They can't be that bad. We want to see what they can contribute if they get consistent minutes. I'm not saying that anybody, even myself, is saying we're going to be automatically better because those guys leave. But I want to see how Hubert coaches. I want to see how other guys play when they get some consistent minutes. I'm not saying we're going to be better automatically or anything like that for sure. Nintendo Nerd says, "I just want fresh talent. These individuals starters are good. They just aren't a good team." Um, JB2 says, "I only want Love to leave. It's likely that he will. Name one Carolina transfer that's done anything once they did. UNC isn't the issue." I mean, Walker Kessler was on the number one team for Auburn. They didn't go very far in the tournament, but he's doing pretty darn good in the NBA. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't think the people that transfer out have necessarily been the. I mean, hopefully you keep your best players and the other people are transferring out, but and I don't think that's where we're saying even people. JB2 says Dawson Garcia's had a great season. I mean, it's a really I don't know what his stats are, but for a really bad Minnesota team, I don't think you can necessarily take that. But I mean, it's more of like again, we think they're going to transfer because they're just not given a chance. I don't think it's because they're the best player or anything like that. It's I don't know. I don't think that's apples to apples. But yeah, Christian mentioned what Walker Kessler at Auburn. Um, Tyler slash Slim Slate Shady's not leaving. Relax. Um, had we landed Matthew Meyer instead of Pete Nance, I feel like this season's different. He's more of a fit that we really possibly. I mean, we thought that when he kind of talked. I think he talked to us, or at least announced that he was in the transfer portal. People talked to him, and I think he would have been a good fit. But I think a lot of people thought Pete was going to be a good fit because of the percentage he shot from threes. But um, yeah, I mean, we'll never know that one. Cameron says, I don't want to be mean either. He'd likely be good at Old Miss or something. Dunn isn't a UNC starter any year. But I think we've said that about Luke May. We've said that I think I said that about Kenny Williams. And I don't know that those teams were at the same level that UNC is kind of used to. And we were going through that whole NCAA sanctions stuff when they kind of went through. And so we didn't land as many. I think we've got some good recruits, but not as many. Well, we've had guys, I think, in the past. You think about Wes Miller started for UNC. I don't think most people would look at him and say he's not a UNC player. But I don't think anybody's even saying Dunn has to start. But just again, getting consistent minutes to where you feel like he knows where his spots are that he can shoot and take stuff um, and just getting confidence in that. I think there's a lot of confidence in kind of knowing what's expected of you and all that, and not just playing one game here and then 3 games later you play again, and that's not consistent. Um, so Christian agrees that Meyer would have been perfect for us. Walker Kessler and Dawson laughing emoji. You see them being first rounders. Walker Kessler was a first, wasn't he lottery pick even? I feel like he was up there and he's doing well in the NBA right now. No, Dawson Garcia not a first rounder for sure. Nintendo Nerd. The scary thing is that I could see any of our players transferring. I think most will stay, but it's scary how uncertain. Yeah, it's just again. I think it depends who leaves to who stays, and I guess it's who decides first, or who knows. Um, Christian says Kessler was 22nd. Okay, so not lottery, 22nd overall pick. He's doing great on the Jazz. So we did see him as a first rounder. Um, I think he could have been a good fit for us. It just again that year that he came, we had what four, and then he was hurt or had like COVID early in the season and just fell behind. Was a lot of that. So Cameron says BC, Virginia, Clemson, Pitt, a- and we're in. Book it. You've heard it here first. But you negative Nancy's keep this energy. Man, Cameron, sorry, we're getting guys antsy. I don't know if that's good or bad for the podcast here. um, Virginia win helps. I don't know how much a Clemson one helps. But yeah, if we beat all those, we're in for sure. Because I mean, you're saying in the tournament, then we win the ACC tournament. That's 4 games. So yeah, we're in. I mean, it doesn't matter who you say though. We win the next 4 games, we're in. Um, I don't know. Maybe that's just his prediction. Uh, All right. Oops. I think I went out of order here, but kind of find a question. How do you feel seeing Justin start? I think is what that's supposed to be, Dan. I know your thoughts on him. I mean, it is what it is. It was senior night. I don't think he hurt us when he was out there. Obviously, both teams kind of started pretty slow. Maybe that was the reason for ours because we started our seniors. I don't know. Remember, was it? I don't know if it was inside Carolina or if it was on the TV broadcast, but they kind of asked like, "How do you feel about the transfers getting to start?" I think it had to have been Inside Carolina podcast. Tommy Ashley maybe was asking, "How do you feel about transfers getting to like the treatment of starting on senior night if they've only been there a year or two?" And I kind of agree. I don't think that's a necessity. I like the tradition of starting, the walk-ons if they're a senior or whatever. But for Justin McCoy to, and I'm not even saying this just because it's Justin McCoy. I promise, Nintendo. Um, but I don't think they should get the treatment of getting to start unless, again, they're just like a regular normal starter and whatever, or if it's close, like go ahead and let them start because it's their last game in the Dean Smith Center or whatever. But yeah, the going forward with the way the transfer portal is, like Pete's a normal starter, so he started. But if he wasn't starting, I don't think, hey, he transferred in for a senior year, like let's start him on senior night. I don't think that's stuff. But again, people probably wouldn't transfer in if they weren't likely to be a starter anyway. So Cameron says Walker has barely made the first round. Stand corrected, but I mean he is doing well in the NBA. I don't watch him much, but I've heard that he's doing really well. I think like I don't know if it's leading the league in blocks or like blocks per 40 minutes or 48 minutes or whatever it is. Some kind of stat like he's doing really well. Nintendo Nerd says the thing is that HD does have his guys now with the freshmen. He barely plays them. That's what confuses me. Some people say, well, I guess it's not this freshman year. It was last year's Styles and Dunn. Like it wasn't really his guys because even though he was the main recruiter, but maybe not recruiting to his style yet. But yeah, Seth, and Tyler, Jalen Washington. Again, there's issues with all of them. I think Tyler's kind of behind some people. Jalen Washington kind of coming back. Obviously he looked good in moments. Um, Seth, not being able to shoot really hurts how much you can play him, especially when we have Leaky out there who can't shoot as well. So Cameron says, "Y'all smash the like button." This fella's putting where. Thank you, Cameron. Yeah, everybody go ahead and hit that like button. Helps so much, and we've had good numbers viewing. I love you guys. Hopefully you're all subscribed. Hit that little notification bell so that as we go live here, you guys can continue to jump in here. So I think we're gonna have to skip through some of these questions. Again, we're going on almost an hour now, which is crazy that all these are going. So maybe stop commenting here. We'll go through some of these, maybe hopefully a little bit quicker. I feel like we're a solid, good team. We just can't win games that end up being 2 3-point games. I mean, obviously, the end of games have hurt us. Both Duke games, and there's several of them, yeah, that we've lost kind of close games. But that's part of the problem. UNC fan is with a veteran group, you feel like that shouldn't be the case, and it has been. So maybe we're closer than we think. 300 response to him says it's because we're burnt out at the end, only playing 5 guys. RJ's legs were gone in the Duke game, etc. Possibly. Who knows? UNC fans, they also can't build a lead when they get hot. Yeah, we definitely and that's the thing. I think it was the Florida State game. We kind of did, but we hit a bunch of threes. We just can't do that consistently either. So, yeah, it doesn't happen a lot there. Nintendo third, I want to be positive, but this team has done nothing to make me confident they can win 4 in a row in the ACC tournament. Definitely there with you on that one. Christian says the one bit of progress from this season for one player is Leaky Black actually becoming an offensive threat. Somewhat. He used to be a liability on offense. Now he makes threes and get in great cuts to the basket. I mean, against Duke, coming off one of his best games, he played 40 minutes, got us 9 points on 1 for 7 from three, 3 for 16 shot. And I feel like I read that his 16 shots were a career high by like 5 shots. So the most he'd shot in a game before was 11 shots. And then shooting 7 threes in a game was his career high too. So I wouldn't say 1 for 7 is again he's shown some improvement and some confidence improvement, but still just not there. Nintendo says I can see Leaky Black going to the G League, working his way toward a roster spot in the NBA. That it could be amazing overseas. Yeah, unfortunately I think it's more probably overseas. But I mean, who knows? I think Brady Manick should get a chance in the NBA the way he knocks down stuff. He's not that bad at defense, and Leaky's kind of the opposite. Is he that bad on offense that you can't play him because of his defense? Who knows? I don't know enough about the NBA. Don't watch enough of that to kind of know or have too many thoughts about that. So Marshall says, how many ACC tournament wins do you believe we need to get in that? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know that we can get in that large. If we do, it's got to be all the way to the championship, which means we need 3 wins. I think it's got to be, we beat BC, we beat Virginia, I think NC State's probably a better win for us, even though Clemson's the 3 seed in the ACC tournament. And then, yeah, like maybe if it's Duke or Miami and we lose really close one. But I really think, I think, I think we got to win it all. I don't know that there's much of a chance for an at-large bid for us. Again, it does. Somebody said earlier, it comes down to what the other kind of bubble teams do, who wins the other um, conference championships, that stuff. But we'll see. Nintendo's, I got you. Hit the like button. Everybody else, make sure you're subscribed. Hit the notification bell, and then while you're at it, hit the like button on this video. Let's get it. We're going over an hour here. This is just crazy. So. Christian says, well, now I'm eating my words. What are you eating your words about, Christian? Oh, because of the Leaky Black stuff. Yeah. Again, the game before that, who was it? Florida State. I mean, what? He had 18 points or something like that. He had that huge dunk. You thought you just kept hoping that he had turned the corner, but I mean, it's kind of our team. You think that Florida State, we hit all these threes, maybe we've turned a corner, and we follow it up shooting 5 for 23 against Duke. So UNC's fan is excited for Simeon Wilcher. Is he coming in this year or like this next year? I feel like we have what, Zayden High, and I thought Simeon was still 24. So again, we got to hold off and make sure those guys come in. We have a decent year next year, so they all want to come in the next year. Show that we'll play freshmen, show that we'll play a bench, all that kind of stuff. So Nintendo says, I'm just a leaky Stan. Whether he hits shots or not, I'm going to miss that kid. I think it's Fan and his defensive energy. I mean, most of our guys, right? Good guys. You want the best for them, but just not getting it done this year. So, all right. So they say Simeon is this year. Okay. So then it's the lefty point guard. I don't remember all their names. I see them as they commit, but then we got the next point guard coming in the next class. I can't think of his name, but I feel like his first name starts with an Eric, like an Eric starts with an E or something. His last name starts with a C. But anyway, yeah, Simeon coming this year. All right. So hopefully he at least will come next year. And again, so then if RJ's there, if we got Tremble, if Caleb Loves comes back, like what happens to Wilcher then? I don't know. Christian says, I DM'd Joel Berry last night, asked him if he'd ever like to coach Carolina one day, and he said he'd love to. You think he'd be a decent coach one day, way into the future? I mean, that's hard to answer. I mean, I don't know how I would have answered that about Hubert before he actually got the job. Obviously, best case is he gets in if Joel wants that, he gets into coaching, kind of like Wes, like and even some of the other guys that aren't maybe head coaches yet, Sean May, Jackie Manuel, Marcus Page has mentioned getting into coaching when he's done playing, overseas and stuff. Um, get some experience first, and kind of work your way up instead of Carol. I think it definitely hurts Hubert that this is his first coaching experience. And again, for development, for subbing rotations, um, all that stuff. So if that's the case, Joel, I don't know. Joel was. I mean, I can see Marcus Page. I think he'd be great. I think he just saw the game as an intelligent player. He saw it with the X's and O's and that kind of stuff. Joel's a little more hothead, a little more streaky, and I don't say like he was a big time hothead as he played, but just a little more that. I think Page was just a lot more even keeled and that kind of stuff. But um, I don't know. Like I said, I'd rather see him kind of in that role before we just say, "Hey, let's be the head coach of UNC one day." Um, Nintendo said, "If he doesn't play, it's a crime. He's really good." I mean, haven't we said that about guys already? I don't know. We don't need to go there. Again, we got to wrap this one up. So, all right, Elliot Cadeau, I think is maybe how you spell it. Yeah, the guy coming in 24. Um, your opinions on Drake Powell becoming a 5-star in 24? I mean, I like it. I'd rather have 5 stars coming in than 4 stars, but I mean, it's the same kid. He was coming in whether he's a 4 or 5 star, so that doesn't really matter to me. I guess it more matters, does his work ethic stay up? Does he get an ego because now he blew up and jumped that high? As long as he keeps working hard, keeps his head on his shoulders, comes in and does what he was recruited to do, and be who he was or is, then yeah, I'd rather have a 5-star than a 4-star, but, um, I don't watch the recruiting enough to kinda know. I know I've seen some highlights of Drake here, and, like, they're going to the state championship, that's great. We want people that are winning and stuff like that, but, I don't watch enough to have a huge opinion about that, but alright, guys, we've gone all over probably more, future as opposed to sitting on the ACC, but we got plenty of talk about the ACC tournament coming up as well. Um, Obviously, not a lot of talk about the NCAA because we have to make it there before uh, we bother talking about that. As far as podcasts coming up, I promise this isn't just because we don't make the NCAA tournament. Would have had this problem even if we were going to be a 1 seed or whatever. But as far as podcasts coming up here, so I leave for Puerto Rico on Saturday, which would be the ACC championship game day, and so podcast wise, I'm hoping to get one more podcast in. Again, I'm hoping that we are winning. Wednesday, Thursday. I leave really early Saturday morning, so I don't think Friday night is probably a possibility to podcast. So I'm hoping maybe like Thursday night, um, can do a podcast. We're going into the semifinals, something like that, or it's wrapped up and kind of our season is done. But selection Sunday, I'm not going to be able to podcast about whether we get in, don't, whatever. Um, I'm going to see about possibly having a bracket challenge yet. Um, Obviously, I can still get on my phone and stuff, but just can't podcast. And so, uh, yeah, hopefully we'll have a bracket challenge. Watch for Twitter. I can put it up on a YouTube post YouTube post in the community as well. But possibly have a bracket challenge for anybody that wants to join that watches the podcast and all that stuff. But yeah, hopefully one more podcast here. Again, hopefully we're still playing and we're still alive going into like the semifinals and stuff, and we'll talk a little bit more about what we think our chances are and stuff like that. But once kind of Friday night, Saturday hits, for the next week, I will be out. And so if for somehow we get into the NCAA tournament, we win the second one, probably. We'll get another podcast here. We'll celebrate and talk about it and talk about where we go from there. Or again, wrapping up the season if we lose. But yeah, from Thursday night through pretty much the first and second rounds. Well, I should say the round of 64, the round of 32. Those two, we won't have a podcast. But I do promise I'll come back. We'll podcast more in March here. I promise. Even if we're not in, we'll kind of talk about what upsets and great games and who we think's going to win and all that stuff. And so be looking for bracket challenge as well, either through my Twitter or through YouTube, and we'll get that stuff taken. But you guys are awesome. I didn't know where this one was going, and it's gone hopefully well. Here, Dolphin plus some letters here says, I think we win 3 and we're in. Christian agrees with him. 300 says, have fun, Dan. Thank you. I think it'll be a good time. Weather is looking great. So excited about that. He says, how are you going to watch March Madness? I'll be kind of that first couple of days. I'll be following on my phone, watching highlights. Maybe if I see a close game, kind of just through the phone here. It looks like service will be okay in Puerto Rico, so be able to watch a little bit, or at least kind of keep up on it. I don't know how much I'll be able to watch, but Nintendo says March Madness should be fun this year. How many teams could potentially win it? Yeah, I mean it's up in the air for sure, for sure, for sure. Christian responds, I think it's very possible we could see a 16th upseed, a 1 seed. No one is a lock this year. Nintendo agrees 100%. All right. No more comments, guys. Appreciate you guys. If you're listening to this later, subscribe where you are, but also go to YouTube, subscribe and hit that bell. Come join us sometime. Um, have some fun. So, uh, Christian says pain. I took a couple days off to not miss the first instrument. It is a little bit of pain for sure. I've always kind of said that was the best part of being a stay-at-home dad is those, when we used to have the 24-hour start to the basketball season and then like conference championship days where we get day basketball, and then obviously the first two days, that Thursday Friday, are always awesome. Um, so I will miss that a little bit, but um, I'm gonna live. It makes it a little bit easier kind of thinking that North Carolina is probably not going to be in there. But yeah, the upsets that happen, the close games, the game after game after game, hours of basketball, that stuff definitely will be missed. But 300 says Tar Heel Nation forever. Absolutely. All right, no more comments. Good night, man. Thank you guys so much. Hit the like button one more time, to make sure we get as many likes on this video as we can. And man, this is probably the longest podcast we've ever had, and we're going hour 12 minutes right now. So hope you guys have enjoyed it. I love it. I will talk to you guys one more time before Selection Sunday. Promise you that. All right. Until next time, go Heels.